conducted from the council chamber and remotely through Microsoft Teams. The meeting is now being recorded and will be available on the Comhairle's website following the meeting. I'm ruling items 2 and 3 as urgent. So item 1 is declaration of interests. As usual, we were asked to declare any interests that you have in any items on the agenda. It will be helpful if members express why they're declaring an interest in the item concerned. And I see no lights, no hands. We'll consider items 2 and 3 together and come back to the recommendations of paragraph 3.1 of the Budget and Council Tax Report. So item 2, this report is at item 2A of the budget folder and recommends the budget and council tax for 2024-25. And again, the Chief Executive and Norman are available to speak to the report and answer any questions from members. Councillor O'Malley.
Thanks, Chair. The Council agreed savings to be made during the current financial year 23-24. What percentage of the savings have been made to date?
Thank you very much, Mr. O'Malley. I'll ask Norman. Is it possible to answer that at this stage?
The top of my head I couldn't say, but I think the majority of the savings were made. But we'll have a look and report back. I'll send an email to all the members.
To all members. Okay, thank you very much for that, Norman.
Can you advise why they weren't made as well in the email? And I've got a second question, if that's possible.
So you want to know why the savings weren't made?
Yeah.
Okay, if there's some that aren't. If there's some narrative we can put in, that'd be useful. And the second question?
And in the report, there's quite a lot on the vacant posts.
Yes. Sorry, Ronald, you're online. Please. Your mic's open. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Gordon.
In the report, there's a lot made of the vacant posts. Would we be able to get a breakdown per department of the vacant posts pre and post budget setting?
Okay, thank you. Norman?
Thank you, Chair. We can provide a list of the posts that we have as listed as vacant, but I think there has to be a caveat on that. And some of these posts will already have been taken as savings as part of this exercise. Yeah. So I think we'll need to do a bit of analysis of the lists before we provide that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks, Norman. Thanks, Gordon. Chief Executive.
Yes, Chair, just to add to that, for example, many vacant posts are within health and social care, and of course these vacancies will have been accounted for in the integration joint board budget. Other vacancies, particularly in education and children's services, are not full-time posts, so it is not simply a matter. There's a lot of caveats and qualifications to the list of vacant posts, and some, of course, are essential posts which we need to fill as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Convener, were you want to come in?
Yes, please. Thank you very much, Leader. Just wanted to say we had an amendment originally in front of us about the abattoir charges for the abattoir, but the amendment was not competent. Can I ask that a report be brought forward at the next series of meetings in April about the abattoir and, you know, usage and everything, than the proposed price increases over the next 2 years?
Yeah, Chief Executive.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I believe that a report is due in the ordinary course of business at the next series, which will answer all of these points. The proposals, though, to raise charges on an incremental basis until cost neutrality is achieved is already core policy, but the committee can take account of any implications of that when the full report is received in April, but that is scheduled for the relevant committee at the April session.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Murray, back in.
Just a clarification on that last point. Are the prices going to increase at the abattoir after this budget setting if there's no amendment?
There's no amendment, so yeah, they will be increasing. Yeah. Okay, if there are no further questions or comments, we'll move on to item 3. And that report, sorry, we went to come in, Chief Executive. Yes, yeah. So.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very pleased with Norman MacDonald, Chief Financial Officer, to present this report to you. I won't go over everything I said this morning, but I would first of all commend the process which the Comhairle has followed, which you have followed. From October, we've had a high level of participation from members, as indeed we should, for setting our annual budget. But that process began with a series with the Budget and Strategy Board meeting in October. We've had since that time a number of seminars. We've had a very detailed budget workshop. We've had informal meetings, and we have, of course, in decision-making terms, we've had Policy and Resources Committee and meetings of the Council, which have set the basis of the budget that is before you today. I won't read out the figures to you. You can read these perfectly well for yourselves. But suffice to say, we have, in addition to the ordinary pressures of the highest level of pay awards in recent political memory, inflation, additional costs across the board, we have had to deal with a real terms reduction in our budget once the allowances for pay at national level and the recovery of capital funding for last year's budget have come through. So in addition to these pressures, we have been dealing with another reduction in our budget. I would like to express, before I go on, my thanks to my colleagues on corporate management team in my own service, and particularly, of course, to the finance department, which, as I said earlier, has had to prepare a budget without access to the financial ledger for the last quarter of the year. I'm very pleased to say at 2.7 that the last revenue monitoring report showed that we had 4.4 million of reserves that available to support this process, and that would reduce to 2.4 if these proposals are approved. There are known risks around just now. This is not, as we know, a static environment. There are likely to be overspends on winter maintenance. There are the costs of the cyber attack, although, as you will note, these have been taken care of from the Service Support Fund for the forthcoming year and this year. So these are not impacting on revenue budgets that you're considering today. Also very pleased to note at 2.8, the recommended budget for delegation to the Integration Joint Board. Once again, we are able to pass on, if you wish, these sums to the IJB, which of course discharges vital services on our behalf in health and social care. The key points, I think, otherwise are set out in the report, and both Norman MacDonald and I are very happy to answer questions. But to take you through the recommendations, it's recommended that you accept the settlement from Scottish Government. That doesn't mean we're wildly enthusiastic about it, but we accept it. We agree the budget strategy set out in the detail of this report. We approve the draft budgets for the services. We agree the delegated budget for the Integration Joint Board as set out in paragraph 10. We agree to freeze council tax at 2023-24 levels. That means accepting a government's offer of a compensatory payment of equivalent just under to 5% of budget, so which allows you the option of freezing council tax. We agree to allocate any additional funding to the provision of the winter maintenance contract in the event of any increases to the general revenue grant. Now that is a standard recommendation. I wish I could say I am anticipating increases to the general revenue grant, but I'm not. If that changes, you'll be the first to hear. But this recommendation, as usual, says that instead of finding any overspends from elsewhere, if there is additional money, we will apply it to winter maintenance. I'm asking you to note the capital allocation. It's not particularly good, as you know, and we will monitor progress, of course, through Policy and Resources Committee. Noting the financial risks in the report, agree to maintain the level of uncommitted reserves. That's not the 2.4, this is a 3.5 at 3.5 million. Obviously, the Budget and Strategy Board will monitor progress with the implementation of the savings plans. And I think in response to Councillor Murray's question that the Chief Financial Officer will circulate details of the implementation of last year's savings. I would always say, of course, it's not always possible to implement savings plans in full. We have a number, we deal with individuals and their individual needs, and sometimes it is just not possible to implement anticipated savings. Critically, we will prepare a medium-term financial plan that's already in progress. You'll be asked to approve that next year. You have my due warning, though. We are continue to be in an era of one-year budget settlements. So is Scottish Government. So it's unlikely that that will change. So any medium-term financial plan has to be read in that context. And our position is so, like all local authorities, our position is difficult. Our position is very vulnerable to external changes. So a medium-term financial plan sets out our strategy. Whether we will be able to deliver that strategy on an annual basis, none of us, I think, in this chamber can honestly say that will be the case. Finally, of course, we will start the budget strategy process for 25-26. Oh joy. At the June meeting of Policy and Resources Committee, we have one series of not doing budget planning at the April series, but that is simply to note the process for next year. If this budget is approved, we will start next year with some reserves of about 2.4 million, and that, as you know, I commend to you wholeheartedly. I think I shudder to think where we would be had we not had the reserves we have to assist with this year's budget, and the leader may allude to that later in the day. So with these comments, Chair, these are the recommendations before you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further comments or questions? Norman, are you wanting to come in? No. Okay, thank you. So we move on to 3. Sorry, that's for approval, isn't it? Yeah, consider them all together. Yeah. Okay, so the report detailing the recommendations from service committees has been uploaded to SharePoint, and do members agree the recommendations of paragraph 3.1 of the Budget and Council Tax 2024-2025 report together with the recommendations from committees? Agreed. Thank you very much. The next scheduled meeting of the committee will be 24th of April 2024 in Barra. Look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much.